It seems like Forspoken has been inflicted with another delay, as instead of its once scheduled release for October 11th, 2022, the game will instead be coming out on January 24th, 2023 for the PlayStation 5 and PC. With a steady stream of high-profile releases slated for later this year, including God of War Ragnarok, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, just to name a few, the delay of Forspoken has been for quote-unquote strategic reasons. In a year of high-profile releases, with not a lot of coverage on Forspoken, perhaps this delay is for the best, as this gorgeous-looking action game published by Square Enix can have some additional months of polish and time to release a game in a less crowded space. In today's episode of Game Watch, we will be taking a closer look at Forspoken and why this game could be a great new game to kick off 2023.
Clean air, bright skies.
Forspoken centers around Frey Holland, a young woman living in New York City who appears to be going through some difficult times. Yearning for a brighter, happier place to distract her from the big city life of New York City, Frey is suddenly transported to a magical world with fantastical, wide-open landscapes that seem to be crafted from a fairy tale. To add to the intrigue, Frey happens to be wearing a magical cuff on her right arm that speaks to her, serving as a guide of sorts as he informs Frey about the world around her and its inhabitants.
Athia.
Who's there?
And technically not Earth. Well, not what you would call Earth, anyway.
I swear to God, asshole, show yourself!
Welcome to Athia, a land where dragons fly its skies, an evil tyrannical ruler holds captive its citizens, and witchcraft and wizardry, where dazzling magic spells paint the landscape in a hypnotic display of particle effects. To Frey, she wants very little to stay in Athia and solve the problems of its citizens as they try to rid themselves of tyrannical rule and the corruption that permeates the lands. Yet at the same time, she is enchanted at her newfound powers, as she can literally do anything she sets her mind to, including but not limited to running just a fraction as fast as Sonic the Hedgehog, shooting dazzling magic out of her hands, laying waste to enemies and monsters with impeccable demonstrations of her physical prowess, and parkouring up, around, and across buildings, chasms, cliffs, and more. Frey has been transported to a new world against her own will, a world that, although satisfies her with her newfound powers, finds it all the more compelling to leave Athia behind to reunite with the city she so eagerly wanted to escape. Frey finds herself in the midst of a world where civilization is under direct threat from an ever-encroaching blanket of fog called the Break. Once inflicted with the Break, ordinary wildlife and animals, monsters, and even humans will become corrupted into incredibly deadly fiends that become hell-bent on taking you down. Because of the large amount of Break in Athia, there are not a lot of bustling cities anymore. All the ones that are left house residents who are often highly indisposed of leaving the city walls, as everyone who comes in contact with the Break is utterly destroyed by its corruption. That's where Frey comes into play, because just as everyone and everything else can be destroyed by the Break, Frey, in fact, is immune to it. We can expect to travel to the far corners of Athia, trying to rid the presence of the Break while also trying to free its citizens under the oppressive rule of its tyrannical rule. The game's graphics simply look amazing, with vast expanses of land being able to be traversed at such high speeds with good density of trees, foliage, grass, and more that really show the high speeds of processing the PlayStation 5 is capable of computing to run a game like this. Complex particle effects are seen bouncing across the screen with a staggering amount of spells to be used and powered up. Just look at all these spells! We can see from this gameplay footage that there appears to be a city in which you can roam around, potentially striking up conversation with locals that may lead to side quests and more. By leaving the city walls, the game world completely opens up, and Frey is able to freely explore the domains around her at her own will. The sense of scale in this game is absolutely incredible, and the feeling of exploring this vast game world at the speed at which you can jump, glide, and fling yourself around in the air must be a ton of fun. Combat is equally flashy and fast-paced, aided entirely by the fact that Frey is very quick and nimble. So true does this remain true of the enemies as well, as they act and react ferociously to Frey's aggression. Just by looking at the combat, this game makes me think about Doom and how fast-paced those games are in their first-person combat. As great and flashy as the combat looks, and just the entire game in general, I'd like to voice a concern about how apparently barren the game world looks. Now, I know, Athia is inflicted with a terrible corruption that rids everything it touches of life, but I'd like to see more things to do in these environments other than just zip through them and fight off the occasional monster. Will there be caves to explore, or underwater systems to unearth and explore that yield some enticing loot to enhance Frey and her abilities? There are the break storms that envelop Frey and her surroundings with an increased presence of corrupted enemies, resulting in pretty incredible looking boss fight encounters. I just want to see more fun and interesting things to do in a world that seemingly looks devoid of many things to do, and rather appears to be used to serve as fancy backgrounds for Frey to practice her incredible parkour on. Regardless, the game looks exceptionally beautiful, and the story sounds very promising. This is a game that the more I read about and look into, the more I am excited to play. I will be picking this game up on day one when it hopefully, fingers crossed, releases on January 24th, 2023. But what about you? Will you be picking up this game? What are your thoughts on Forspoken? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to zap the like button and parkour over to the subscribe button for more content surrounding Forspoken as we come closer to its release, as well as other Game Watch episodes, tips and tricks videos, and more surrounding the latest and greatest releases in the video game industry. Thank you very much for your support, and I look forward to seeing all you good people in the next video. Peace!